the fact that these two girls are closeted. There's a lot of layers going on with the film, but I think for me, like exploring the nuances and the power shifts in this relationship were really key and really grounding in Kira, our protagonist's point of view. So doing that through sound, through the image, like through the camera, and just really settling into her experience of just how she's dealing with this breach of consent, essentially, and crossing of boundaries, and how she navigates those waters and sees her partner in a new light.
Good day, filmmaker Renée Marie Petropoulos, Souvenir, several other just so engaging films. Renée, how are you today?
Good, doing well. Excited for South by, which is in a week. So crazy.
Right, and it's your second film you've taken there, correct? Are you attending? So you're in Australia. Are you planning on attending?
Yes, so I'm going, my producer Yingna Liu is going, both of our
Okay.
partners are going, and one of our cast members, so Emily, who plays Zoe in the film, is going. Yeah.
So this is Souvenir. You had Tangles and Knots in South by 2018. What about South by Southwest do you love as a festival? Because obviously, anytime you're making a commitment to travel from Australia to anywhere, there has to be, it's not just, yeah, I'll do it, not do it, whatever. It's got to be like, I'm committed to this.
No, totally. Flying anywhere is minimum 15 hours, so you really have to commit to it. Yeah, look, South by has always had a tender spot in my heart. When we went back in 2018, it was wild, it was fun. It just felt like they really nourish emerging filmmakers. And in the way that we experienced it as short filmmakers, like we were never separated from the feature filmmakers. We were like allowed the same kind of access and enjoyed the same kind of parties and got to meet the same kind of people. So it was really about, it just felt like we were in such good hands in terms of being held up in the community. So I'm really excited to go back with a bit more wisdom and a bit more riding under my belt this time. But yeah, really excited.
And I can't wait to talk with you about that, because I think you have, as near as I could tell, like you have these shorts, you have 3 features that you're working on. So Renée, and then you also have this really interesting background, which I want to talk with you about. Greek, Australian, like how did you get into filmmaking?
I always knew, like, from a young age, I wanted to do something in the arts or creatively.
Okay.
My parents, I'm from a Greek family, so my parents were very encouraging, despite my grandparents telling me, like, why don't you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or do something like normal? So my parents, on the other hand, were very encouraging, which was like amazing. And they still are to this day. They're super encouraging, which is great. Love mom and dad and my sisters as well. Very fortunate in that way. I think, just always wanted to tell stories. Like I feel like I've always been very visually minded and obsessed with cinema. Yeah, I don't know. I just found it quite young and it was just like, this is what I want to do.
Did you go to film school?
Yeah, so I did undergrad in Sydney with a kind of a film undergrad. It was loosely termed, but met so many Australian collaborators in that course. Met my producer Yingna there, and then met a lot of the other collaborators, like heads of department, and really good friends while at UTS. And then after that, took a chance and went to Columbia in New York. I was 21, which was crazy. I did my postgrad at 21. And then during that course, like, again, just made so many great connections. It was a wild time and made Tangles and Knots while finishing that degree. So yeah, I feel like I definitely learned how to be a better writer and director by going there. And it was an incredible experience for sure. And then came back to Australia and have been trying to make my way through the film industry. To pay the bills, I work as a script coordinator, so on TV shows, in the writing department for the writers. So yeah, just trying to keep my foot in the door and keep trying to make stuff. Like the balance is always hard sometimes, but yeah, it's worth it.
Of course.
Yeah.
So Tangles and Knots was your thesis film at Columbia. Was there like the expectation that you're going to make a top festival? Was that just people were just impressed by that? Walk me through that process of having your thesis film make one of the top festivals in the world.
Yeah, look, I feel like in making that film, or in making any film, to be honest, like you lose perspective by the end of it. Is this good? Is this not good? I really like it. I hope other people like it. Yeah, it was a massive shock, like, it got into Berlinale first and then South by right after.
Wow.
So shocked, and then, like, similarly with this film, like, we'd applied to a bunch of festivals, not getting any hits, and then suddenly South by said yes, and we're just like, "Oh, okay, I guess we're going, it's off." Yeah, it was definitely it's really lovely to get that kind of validation, but I don't think I'm definitely not making films with those festivals in mind. I just wanna make
Of
stuff
course.
I'm really proud of, so yeah, it was definitely a lovely surprise.
Do you feel surrounded by, like, an Australian diaspora? Like, when you go to these festivals, when you were at Columbia, obviously, part of it is, like, you wanna reach out to different cultures, different people, and
Mm,
interact, but other part of it is too, you're thousands of miles from home. It's hard to just be like, "I'm just gonna interact with everyone else." You want to
y
feel like you're at home too. So, is that
yeah.
part of your goal is like, "Okay, yeah, I need to reach out," but also, are there other people around you that are helping you feel like you're still at home?
Yeah, at first we were the only Australian project that was at South
Wow.
by, and then at Sundance, a few more titles got added. So Leviticus, which is by Causeway, which I'm really excited to see, and then also The Fox, also by Causeway, like both first-time features, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Wow.
think they're like both horror Australian films, or I think actually The Fox might be a dark comedy, so please forgive me if I'm misquoting it. But it was nice because then we suddenly felt like we weren't alone. And also, I think Dead Eyes
Okay.
is another horror film made by an Australian director that's coming
Hmm.
as well. So the contingent has grown, which is great. And
Okay.
I'm sure there are some other Australian musicians and other talented artists coming as well. But it does feel nice to go over
Right.
with your countrymen and feel that support and to hear the accent around, which is nice.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm excited to connect with those filmmakers once we hit the ground. But yeah, it was nice not being alone. For
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
So, Souvenir is just such an incredible film. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It gets to a topic that is not really talked about, and maybe you think that it is talked. I felt like I haven't seen a short like that. For somebody listening who isn't familiar with the film, how do you describe it? And then how do you want people to feel like when you're in the audience, they finish watching it? How do you want them to feel about the film after they've
Yeah.
watched?
Yeah, I think for me, I really wanted to explore a young, sapphic, toxic relationship, one
Yeah.
that I feel like we don't really see much of on screen.
Yeah.
And I think for me also, like, setting this story on a resort on a family vacation, also in 2008, like, using the technology of the time to add another layer, and also the fact that these 2 girls are closeted. There's a lot of layers going on with the film, but I think for me, like, exploring the nuances and the power shifts in this relationship were really key, and really grounding in Kira, our protagonist's point of view. So doing that through sound, through the image, like, through the camera, and just really settling into her experience of just how she's dealing with this breach of consent, essentially, and crossing of boundaries, and how she navigates those waters and sees her partner in a new light. Like, I really just wanted to ground in her point of view. And the story itself was imbued with my experiences of I was just fully came out at the same time we were writing it, and I'd just started dating women as well, so I was dealing with a whole other scope of new relationships
Right.
and expectation as well, and always wanting to go above and beyond to, like, please partners and prove myself because I was definitely a very shy baby gay, as they say. And also while we were writing this, it is connected to a feature, but, like, the short just took a
Right.
life of its own, and my producer and I imbued it with our own experiences of, like, experiencing this, of a breach of consent, of, like, dealing with nude photos, and then also of, like, partners that kind of the little gaslighting moments as well, like, they're definitely drawn
Yeah.
from real life, unfortunately, but we did wanna imbue it with this kind of memory just to add another sense of, I guess, truth to it. So I'm hoping, just to go back to your question, I'm hoping to people seeing this, if they connect to it in some way, if they've experienced this, like seeing it on screen, like it feels like a more of a validating experience, or if they're in a relationship like this and they haven't seen the signs, like seeing it on screen might be the thing, but also encouraging discussion around consent and, like, those little tiny moments in the film. And at the end, like, it's an ambiguous note that I'm leaving the film on, so it's up to you to decide where you think their relationship is gonna go, but I've gotten interesting responses from different people who've seen the film on what they connect to and also what they think is gonna happen in the end, so it's been really fun, and I'm hoping to get that at South by.
Like, I feel like there's so much, like, you make it the story concise, first of all. It's not drug out for where you're feeling like, "Wow, this is, like, long." And it also feels so true to life. Like, I feel like so many times films, like, try to make these huge blowouts, and that's not sometimes, of course, that happens, but it's those small moments that really, I think, depict
Mhm.
a relationship
Yeah.
of abuse, and you actually talk about that, one of the quotes in the director's statement, "Hope to lead the audience through a realistic take on the cycle of abuse through an accumulation of small, painful moments," and I love that quote because I feel like
Mhm.
that accurately describes what you put on screen. So, without naming I would say that's how a good way to describe abuse
Mhm.
on film, but it's not always that way, and I'd say, like, the majority of times films don't do a great job with it. So, of course, not naming films, but, like, what would you say would be a film if a film handles abuse poorly? Like, there must be some examples out there where you've seen films and you're like, "Man, that didn't work," and that sort of led you to what you wrote.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hard question.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think I've thought of that. I feel like when I'm watching a movie, even if I don't quite agree with what it's doing, like, I try to take something positive away from it. Yeah, no, that's a hard question. Were there any films that come to mind when you were thinking of this question in terms of badly handled abuse? I'm just trying to think 'cause this is
Yeah, well, I just think, like, it's
yeah.
when it's just too over the top, where it's just, I need to show something or using dialogue to show
Yeah.
something rather than the medium of film, and that's
Yeah.
another thing I loved about your film is it's always through actual physical motion. There's not
Yeah.
like the characters aren't sitting down and, like, yelling at each other. It's like consent of, like, over the phone and over photos, and it's done
Yeah.
very carefully, and if I had to answer the question, I'd say just that, just, like, too, like, ambiguous or too, like, over the top, and where you took, like, slight motions rather than just trying to punch someone in the face of, "This is what
Y
abuse is," you know?
Yeah, I think, like, having been in relationships like this, I think it's always, like, skirting that line of, "Was that aggressive
Exactly.
or was it not?" And you're always questioning it, and that's where that relationship kind of lines. Yeah, like, even, like, the request to, like, sing in front of the family, I was like, "Oh, that's, like, such a power move," but also, like, seemingly innocuous, like, it just skirts that line, which is what I'm interested in. And same
Okay,
when yeah, so I think I can't think of anything now. If anything comes to mind in terms of bad examples, I will let you know, but
sure.
it's a great question. It has definitely
Yeah.
stumped me, so thank you.
So, Renee, this is your second film, as we talked about, the South by Southwest. Second short, you're working on 3 features. What are you and your producer taking to this South by? Are you taking different goals? It's like in 2018, you were like, "Oh, I'm happy to be here," type of thing, and then now you're, "Okay, I know how this works. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go in, I'm gonna look for certain things."
Yeah. I think this time around so my producer and I have 2 projects that we have that's, like, advanced development in that's scripted. So we
Right.
have a feature film that's connected to our last short, Tangles and Knots. It definitely it's naturalistic drama, very character driven, and it explores what happens after the events of the short film, so it just keeps going.
Ooh,
The really unsettling aftermath in the community and what happens between this mother and daughter and, like, keeping things from one another, and it just, like, explodes in a beautiful and bittersweet kind of way. So there's that project, and then there's also the feature connected to Souvenir, which is same resort setting, same time period, similar kind of family vacation setup, but it explores a different type of a breach of consent. It's more about sexual violence, much darker, and a young girl experiencing sexual assault from a young teenage boy who's just come to the island and how she grapples with it while her family is there, her friends, and her attacker and her attacker's girlfriend. So it's
okay.
this kind of very much a pressure cooker kind of film, and about how I guess young women deal and young people in general deal with sexual violence when it can't really get addressed and there's no closure, like how that trauma manifests and festers into something that's quite unsettling. So it's a different kind
Wow.
of film in terms of dealing with sexual assault, and I think it really is like a deep dive into character and to the same kind
Mhm.
of things from the film of consent, of these micro little behaviors between one another, and yeah, just how, yeah, a young girl can unravel in this way and find herself in the end. Like, it's uplifting at the end, I promise, but
Okay.
it's a darker take on this journey, and I think that's why when we did the short, it was great that it took on a different life, and we could explore other things and a different kind of relationship, but still stay within the same world. So that was really key.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
you're
I
taking those, yeah,
taking those 2, and
to
then I
that's
have
your goal.
yeah, and I have a horror film in early development. The pitch is basically a Greek island of witches and dark rituals and being gay, all the messy things in between that, and then, like, another Greek project, drama and
Okay.
development. So
Wow.
it's, like, a lot, but I think, yeah, just trying to meet with other production companies, like sales agents, distributors, like the whole shebang for, like, any of these projects would be amazing. Yeah. And also management and agents as well would be cool. So, yeah, big
So when
plans.
you're going that yeah, no, that's a lot, but do
Yeah.
you feel and those are heavy topics, Renee. Do you feel like we need to have an escape valve sometimes of, like, when you're writing scripts like this? Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with personal topics, like, what would you advise somebody there is a toll when you're telling those stories, and then you're
Yeah.
presenting them in front of the audience. So, what would you tell somebody about your mental thought process of going into these places that are just, I'm
Yeah.
sure, personally tough for either you or your producer or people that you know?
I think, like, definitely be patient and kind with yourself. Give yourself
Yeah.
I found in writing both of those the features I mentioned earlier, both pretty personal. So and even writing the short was pretty personal. I think just taking your time, being gentle with yourself, taking breaks,
Right.
doing something fun in between. Like, I'm a massive gamer and I love, like,
Okay.
D&D, so that's my escape for sure. So just finding the levity in that or watching a fun movie. Yeah, and really just being kind to yourself because 'cause you're going into dark and deep places and showing
Right.
it's scary showing a lot of yourself on screen, but it's also liberating in the same way. So, I think just having the patience and with yourself and with your collaborators as well, just constantly checking in and making sure that you're both okay. I think that's how I approach it anyway, but yeah, yeah. It's tough.
I
It's
love
tough.
that I love that answer. So, your team is incredible that are working on Souvenir. You look at sort of their producer, you look at the star, Tenzin Crawford, who not on the newest Game of Thrones, you look at the
Very cool.
DP, Edric Watson, like, just these lineup of people that have been really successful both before and then now after the short. Like, how do you determine which collaborators to work with? Like, how much of that experience did you see in them going forward? How much did you already know and they came with a resume? How much does that matter to you in assembling a team?
Yeah. I think particularly with, like, heads of department, like with Adric, with the production designer Diva, with Georgia, our costume designer, with everyone on the team, I think taste is important. I think vibe is important. I think stuff that they've worked on and seeing their talent in other work is really cool and important to me. Vibe amongst all things, like, and making sure you can
Okay.
communicate is really important and trying to suss that out early. And I think, yeah, speaking the same language will save you on set and in terms of pre as well, just making sure you can communicate your ideas. I think with casting as well, like, really casting for character above all else, and also, like, casting people who are gonna bring something more to the character that you couldn't bring in the writing. I think in
Mm,
Tanzan, she blew it out of the park, like, it was beyond anything I could ever imagine. She just has such a gorgeous nuance in how she acts, it's so graceful, it's so gorgeous, and just I don't yeah, it was just incredible to work with her, and I wish we had more time on set like any director wishes, just to but, the realities of set is you gotta work fast, and then similarly with
right.
Emma, like, we cast her in every round she got through, like, it was always her charm, it was always her energy that got her that charmed us, and
Okay.
she's playing, like, quite a character that's doing quite a nefarious thing, so you need to have that charm there to see why Kira is so entranced and so in love and everything, and it was very important for us to cast someone who had that energy just naturally, and honestly, when we were shooting and we were shooting some of the darker scenes, like, having her on set was a blessing because she's always just amping everyone up and very sweet and playful, so, yeah, it was really great, and, like, the family we created on screen were all fantastic as well. Yeah, it was just like a little we were just like a little family at the end of it, very
Oh,
cliche to say. And a lot of the crew who were in, like, some of the other roles below heads of the department actually got together and made another film with Emily and collaborated, so it kind of kept going,
Wow.
and I think it was like it was a challenging but really fun shoot, and I think surrounding yourself with people who are gonna who are gonna add things to your project, but also nurture this kind of vibe, very important. Yeah. Sorry,
I
long-winded.
love the way you No, I love that, and I love the way you put that will draw out more than the writing. How did you know that in the casting process? Do you have any advice for somebody going through the casting process of what, looking back on it, you were glad that you did it the way that
Yeah.
you did?
I think with some parts, like, you can't audition either. So with Tamsin, we had a great conversation after meeting her and just immediately got the vibe that the character, like, she was perfect for the character, and I think in doing that and similarly with Emily, it was just, like, talking to her over the course of a few weeks, like, we got the sense of, "Oh, like, she's gonna nail this," and
This is
seeing
perfect, yeah.
perfect, and seeing definitely encouraging check out everyone's previous work, see what they've done to know what they're capable of, and just try to see if you can find the same kind of vulnerability or openness that you want from the character in your cast as well. And if you can't audition, like, definitely checking out previous work to see if what you're looking for in the character is there. That's definitely how I like to work, and definitely, like, having a conversation and talking about, like, life and interests and all the other fun stuff helps to really nail that for sure.
So as you go across the pond to South by, what do you think describes an Australian filmmaker? I feel like horror is something that's growing from Australians. Do you feel like there's any sort of genre or any way to describe
Mm,
Australians? It's also super unfair that the Oscars and other international gifts, here's the best film from a whole country. It's what? How is that like? How can you even do that?
yeah. I feel like Australians are very, or at least, like, this cinema that I am drawn to is just, like, definitely very, like, courageous with horror, for instance, and,
Ooh,
like, dramas we put out are always very bold. The voices are always, like, quite clear, and then even, like, our comedy, the stuff we put out in terms of comedy is always very dark and cheeky, and I don't know, there's, like, a very distinct slant to it. We don't
agree.
take
Yeah.
ourselves too seriously, which is freeing in a way, so you can just go for it. Yeah, I love the cheeky and courageous is how I would describe Australian cinema, and also just not afraid to go to dark places, which is great.
So this souvenir will be at South by in a few weeks. What's the best way for people to keep track of your work, following you on Instagram? And then do you
Yeah,
have others like milestone? I know you're pitching several features, but do you have any other milestones that you can talk about in
yeah,
terms of other projects that might be coming out?
yeah, definitely give me a follow on Instagram. I would love to chat more about film. The short also has its own little page, so it's souvenir dot short film on Instagram.
Awesome.
And I don't know what else is coming out. We're still also submitting Souvenir to more festivals. We're hoping to get an Australian premiere as well. Like, we'd love to show it back in our home city of Sydney, so that would be good. Or Melbourne. There's so many great film festivals down here as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we have in the meantime, and still in development with all these other projects. So hoping to get something up and running by the end of the year and just pushing on all ends just to get something that clicks. Yeah, that's all I've got so far.
Uh, and Tangles and Knots is available for streaming on Short of the
Yep,
Week. It's, like, super
yep.
fantastic. Definitely check that out. If you like Souvenir, you'll love that film. Just fantastic. So, Indie Film Podcast, Renee, love supporting other people's projects. I think it's the hallmark of your work, the team that you put together. If you weren't such a great leader on set, you wouldn't have so many people working with you, again, on, like, your feature film. So, obviously, you're a supportive person. Is there a film or filmmaker out there that you wish more people knew about?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. Ah, so many good questions. Ooh.
Maybe an Australian filmmaker that somebody, a
Yeah,
film that
yeah.
you love that
I love Warwick Thornton. Oh, I love his films. They're very much that kind of Australian dark Australian cinema. Like, the stories he's
mm.
telling are very bold and very exciting. Oh, I'm just trying to think. You really stumped me today with these questions. I've got another one. So, second one is Goran Sovleski. So he did Of an Age and also this gorgeous film about witches, but Of an
Ooh,
Age is my favorite of his films. It's gorgeous queer cinema, all set in Melbourne, just about a chance meeting between these two young guys. And it's just like premiered at Sundance. It was just absolutely gorgeous. Goran is incredible. If you can check out his work, I would also recommend. Yeah.
It's been so amazing chatting with you. I feel so lucky to have technology that allows this to happen. I could just come
Yeah.
in, watch a film, and then talk with somebody in Australia about her work. Thank God for technology. The film is Souvenir. Renée Marie Petropoulos, you're just like an outstanding filmmaker. I love just the uniqueness of your work. Like I said, like when I watch Souvenir and I'm like, I haven't seen anything like that. And I just felt like that describes something that we hear people talk about a lot. We don't see often on screen. And when we do see something like that on screen, it's usually like they obliterate the point. So it's just wow, just like really touching and leaving you what should people do? Like it leaves you thinking like about what you would do in
Mm,
such a scenario, and I
yeah.
feel like that's the best kind of filmmaking. You don't try to tell the audience how to feel. You just
No.
propose a scenario to them and say, "Here you go." And it just leaves you leaving the theater thinking about the film, which I assume was your intent. So excited to talk with you about it. This has been such a phenomenal conversation, and I'm so grateful that you joined me all the way from Australia.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. Thank you.